We have had already 4 lectures on the League of Nations. Today we are going to have the final discussion on the League of Nations. Today's discussion will be on the theme of evaluation of the activities and achievements of League of Nations. To introduce, the end of the First World War with the signing of Treaty of Versailles was a landmark in the history of international relations. Amidst bitter memories of the war, there began a point of departure in the sense that a unique experiment towards an international organization began to take deeper roots. Discrediting League in totality needs to be aware of the popular caution that, I quote, "It was not the League of Nations but nations of League that failed," unquote. It would not be wrong to argue that the conceptualization of League itself was a great achievement as far as international peace was concerned. The establishment of League not only expressed world's growing concern to avoid wars, secure peace and justice, but also to protect the rights of minorities. Friends, today let us discuss the achievements of League in the context of settling rights of the minorities. At the outset, let us discuss about scope, issues and outreach of League. The convergence of League's overall commitment to international peace with significant focus on securing rights of the minorities did not remain simply as moral foundations, but began to set yardsticks for international consensus on minorities. The setting up of a committee on new states and signing numerous minority treaties within the League system paved ways to addressing questions related to minorities. Some of the important minority treaties involved 5 newly recognized states, namely Czechoslovakia, Greece, Poland, Romania, and Yugoslavia. The League started to witness stronger demands for ethnic and national self-determination. From 1919 to 1920, new states were created in Central and Eastern Europe. For instance, out of the defeated Austro-Hungarian Empire, Ottoman Empire, and Prussian Kingdom emerged a dozen new states, while flagging off the issue of plebiscite in Poland, Czechoslovakia, Austria, Hungary, Yugoslavia, Romania, Bulgaria, and Albania. In this way, the idea of being sovereign began to manifest discourses of minority rights all over the world. The urgency to address minority rights was heightened with the large-scale displacement, dates, and redrawing of political boundaries as a result of the 1914 war. The League took up issues including rights of natives, human and drug trafficking, arms trade, health, prisoners of war, etc. The scope of League's working areas was highly broad, as it included larger international issues such as maritime affairs, trade, disarmament, and national rights. However, one has to remember that the League confronted with a series of dichotomy as the period witnessed increasing brutality of colonialism on the one hand and the demand for freedom and decolonization on the other hand. Therefore, the growing demand for recognition and protection of minority rights can also be understood in the context of larger concerns for decolonization. Friends, let us also discuss about the intervention and success stories of League here. The formation of League led to increasing interventions and activities with regard to the settlement and negotiation of minority rights. The impact was so extensive that it resulted in the redrawing of Russian Empire, as seen in the case of emergence of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. To cite a few important cases of League's role, the following section discusses the success stories regarding the League's role. First, Schleswig and U2M4. One of the initial interventions of the League was the case of self-determination of Schleswig. Flagging off a plebiscite issue, the people of Schleswig, which was in the then Denmark, used the petition provisions to redraw its boundaries. In an attempt to resolve the border issue, a plebiscite was conducted in February 1920. 75% of the North Schleswig population voted to return to Denmark, while 80% in the middle zone of Schleswig voted to remain with Germany. The German and the Danish government agreed to ensure civil, political, and cultural rights to the minorities in this regard. Now let us also talk about Upper Silesia. At the Versailles, there had been a bitter discussion between the allies as to whether the Upper Silesia should remain with Germany or be given back to Poland. The ethnic Germans in Upper Silesia were apprehensive of coming under Poland's control. In a retaliatory mode, Poland tried to disband the German civil administration and security forces. France and Poland sought to remove the right to vote of those born in the area but had moved away, while Britain and Germany insisted on its authority. The mineral-rich Upper Silesia was always a temptation for both Germany and Poland. In the same year, 1921, the League was equally successful in Upper Silesia. The Treaty of Versailles had given the people of Upper Silesia the right to have a referendum whether they wanted to be part of Weimar Germany or part of Poland. In this referendum, 7 lakhs voted for Germany and 5 lakhs voted for Poland. The verdict resulted in rioting between those who expected Silesia to be part of Weimar Germany and those who sided with Poland on the other hand. In this regard, after an inquiry, the League decided to split Upper Silesia between Germany and Poland. In 1920, the League appointed an expert commission to resolve the matter. The commission allowed Germany to obtain 57% of Upper Silesia as a whole and 70% of the triangle, but 3/4 of the coal mines and iron ore reserves as well as most of the industrial undertakings went to Poland. The Commission recommended Germany and Poland to negotiate on several issues including protection of minorities, nationality and domicile, etc. Let us talk about the Åland Islands and Swedish in mainland Finland. The League of Nations was also involved with the resolution of a dispute between Sweden and Finland over the Åland Islands, an archipelago lying between Sweden and Finland, populated by some 20,000 people, mostly Swedish-speaking. The Council of the League set up a commission of inquiry which released its report in April 1921. On 24 June 1921, the Council formally recognized Finnish sovereignty but added that, in the interests of the world peace, showing commendable respect to the Council's intervention, Sweden withdrew its claim of sovereignty over the Åland Islands. Let us talk about the cases of Ellerstein and Meriwether and Carinthia, where the plebiscites were conducted. Under the aegis of the League, the demand for self-determination drastically grew up. One of the common exercises promoted by League was plebiscite. Another plebiscite took place in Palestine and Meriwether on 11 July 1920, which the Allies and Poland wanted to reclaim. On the contrary, in Meriwether, only 7,947 persons voted for Poland compared to 96,894 for Germany. The League advised to respect the verdict of the people. Similarly, the plebiscite in Carinthia was conducted in the mixed German-Slovene areas along the southern borders of Austria to address the rights of Slovene-speaking population. Now we will talk about the role of League with regard to Albanian case. The Albanian case was about granting of linguistic and educational rights to minorities, which Albania promised to uphold while becoming a member of the League. However, the Albanian government went on to oppose any long-term imposition on providing special arrangement for minorities. In its advisory opinion of 6 April 1935, the PCIJ rejected the Albanian thesis on the grounds that if minorities were refused the right to manage and control their own schools, it would thwart the aim of minority protection, namely allowing the free development of a minority's consciousness and culture, which is also about the essence of equality. Similarly, in another development, the League resolved a dispute between Italy and Greece over the islands of Corfu in the year 1923. The dispute was peacefully resolved with the intervention of the League. Let us also talk about League's success in Memel. In 1923, the League was successful in resolving a problem in Memel. Memel was a port in Lithuania. Most people who lived in Memel were Lithuanians, and therefore the government of Lithuania believed that the port should be governed by them. However, the Treaty of Versailles had put the Memel and the land surrounding the port under the control of the League. For 3 years, a French general acted as the governor of the port, but in 1923, the Lithuanians invaded the port. The League intervened and gave the area surrounding Memel to Lithuania, but they made the port an international zone. Lithuania agreed to this decision of the League. It is also equally interesting to talk about League in Turkey, where a case of humanitarian aspect can be seen. In the same year, 1923, the League faced further problems in Turkey. The League failed to stop a bloody war in Turkey, but it did respond to humanitarian crises caused by this war. 140,000 refugees had been created by this war, with 80% of them being women and children. Typhoid, cholera were rampant. The League sent doctors from health organizations to check the spread of disease, and it spent £10 million on building farms, homes, etc. for the refugees. Money was also invested in seeds, wells, and digging tools, and by 1926, work was found for 6 lakhs people. In this regard, a member of the League called this work of the League as the greatest work of mercy which mankind has undertaken. We will now talk about the Greek-Bulgarian crisis of 1925. The Greek-Bulgarian crisis of 1925 was a characteristic example of a border conflict. The murder of a Greek captain and 2 soldiers induced dictator Theodoros Pangalos to order an incursion into the Bulgarian territory. Undoubtedly, the relations between Greece and Bulgaria had been strained since the start of the 20th century, and there had been several felicitous and unfortunate moments based on the common factor of their activities over Macedonian issue. The incorporation of southern Macedonia within Greek national boundaries did not completely quash Bulgarian aspirations. The intervention of the League of Nations prevented escalation of the clash. The instruments of international organizations, after an on-the-spot investigation, decided the level of reparations. The conflict ended peacefully, but the settlement did not suffice to convince the weaker countries of Europe about the overall effectiveness and impartiality of the League of Nations. The League then sent experts to the area and decided that Greece was to blame and fined her £45,000. Both nations accepted the decision of the League. Towards the conclusion remark, we can say that the League of Nations was founded to prevent wars and ease out interstate relations. It would not be wrong to say that the history of League has been that of successes and failures. During the first decade of its existence, the League had several achievements. It is credited to have resolved several interstate disputes which in some way or the other contributed in the prevention of warlike situations. It is often credited that during its tenure of 20 years effective existence, the League settled 13 political disputes in Europe particularly. The League also prominently figured in the field of humanitarian interventions, from health-related activities to fighting deadly diseases of the then world. The League contributed in plenty. The League of Nations not only work on minority rights and settlement of interstate issues, but also successfully intervene on preventing and curing deadly diseases like malaria, cancer, syphilis, TB, and others. The League also initiated agreements on states' responsibility on controlling sales and production of drugs in 1925. It also established another committee called Permanent Committee on Arts and Letters, which aimed at conserving masterpieces of arts and letters, while at the same time promoting intellectual properties and cooperation. Another significant achievement of the League was its distinctive contribution on labor rights, which finally led to the conceptualization of International Labour Organization and subsequent mediation of interstate conflicts, along with the repatriation of 4 lakh prisoners of war in the post-World War I times.